Good evening, everybody, and I think we are on time to start the virtual discussion today. I am Dr. Asif Zameer, and I am Dean Academics at IMT CDL. On behalf of IMT CDL and UNGCNI, I welcome all the participants to this virtual discussion that we are going to have on this key topic, aligning CSR initiatives with sustainable development goals in India and the road ahead. The two extremely talented and prestigious panelists who are with me. I'll first like to welcome them to this particular session. We have got Shri Kamal Singh ji and Dr. Sapna Narula, and in a short while I'll be giving you a brief introduction of these two panelists. Though most of the people here will know them, and these are names which really don't require much introduction. Uh, I'll start, and I also welcome all the participants to this event. I welcome the team at IMT CDL, our support team, and our faculty members who are joining. Though the attendance is low right now, but I'm sure as soon as the event warms up, more people are likely to join this particular event. And I'll again repeat the name of the event, aligning CSR initiatives with SDGs, which are all also known as Sustainable Development Goals for India and the road ahead. Most of you who have signed up uh, have some spark of interest in this particular topic, and I'll just give you a brief uh, concept on what is it that we are talking about. Everybody understands, has a broad understanding of corporate social responsibility, and this is not a new concept, it is an old concept in the world. But in India, the real focus and impetus to this concept came with the Companies Act of 2013, Section 135, which then became applicable from financial year 2014. CSR, is generally understood as being the way through which a company achieves a balance of economic, environmental, and social responsibilities. Sometimes people call it the three P's or triple bottom line: people, planet, and profits. From the above definition, it is clear that CSR uh, is something which needs to address the well-being of all stakeholders and not only the company and the customers. Then the second operating word in this particular topic is SDGs, or Sustainable Development Goals. Now, sustainable development was defined by Brundtland Commission as development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. In simple words, we should leave a world which is better in resources than the world which we inherited. This is a simple task, but it's very complicated. And in the pursuit of our economic growth, we are we are overusing the natural resources, and we are already overrunning the planet. I'm sure many of you may have seen the UN report, which has just come around 2 3 days back, where the UN itself has said that out of the goals which were set up for 2030, we are still a far away position, and a lot needs to be done. Sustainable Development Goals, which are also known as global goals, were adopted by United Nations member states in 2015 as a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that all people enjoy peace and prosperity by 2030. Now, this is the background in which our discussion is going to take place. But first of all, I'd like to introduce you to Shri Kamal Singh. Shri Kamal Singh is currently the CEO and Executive Director, and he's leading Global Compact Network India. He holds a postgraduate diploma in personnel management, and he's also an alumnus of prestigious Jawaharlal Nehru University. Prior to joining GCNI, he was the Director General at NHRDN, National Human Resource Development Network, and he is known for his significant contribution in rejuvenating the financial status and health of NHRDN, and also introducing several new initiatives, and he strengthened the value proposition of its membership and achieved a record number of membership from corporates to this network. Before that, he was director IMA, and most of you know IMA is a national apex body of management profession in the country, and he's on the board and subcommittees of so many organizations that will take almost half an hour to just read out that list. But I'll just give you certain names. He's on the board of Association of Indian Management Schools, AIMS, Bureau of Indian Standards, GIMS, Indian Institute of Finance, ILM University Gurugram, BIMTech Greater Noida, Manav Rashna International University, Jaipuria, and the list is, as I said, very long. He is a winner of several accolades and awards by corporate and government sector, and he contributes beyond business towards building social capital index of India and also the world. I thank you, Shri Kamal Singh ji, for joining us in this virtual discussion, and I request you to give us some opening remarks about this. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Asif Bhai. It's really to be pleasure and privilege to be here. Distinguished speaker, our moderator Asif Bhai himself, our distinguished keynote speaker, Dr. Sapna ji, my colleague Asim, Shreya, other colleagues, participants. I really feel honored to be part of this session because it is on such a subject which is not only important to all of you but also to United Nations. And it is a virtual session on aligning CSR initiative with SDG in India, the road ahead. And we are truly grateful to Dr. Sapna Narula, Dean Nalanda University, as an esteemed speaker. She is a well-known academician, researcher, and practitioner in sustainability who has made significant contribution to the field of sustainability in business landscape through her teaching, research, and consultancy effort. And we could have not got a better keynote speaker who could give that kind of a perspective. And my heartiest welcome to her. And we are equally thrilled by Dr. Asif Zameer, Dean Academics of IMT CDL, as the moderator for today's session. He has more than 3 decades of total experience, including over 16 years of rich industry exposure, and has published several research papers in reputed international and national journals in the areas of expertise. And to be honest, in fact, the entire efforts today we see in a form of virtual session really is driven by Asif Bhai, and we really grateful to him and also welcome in our beds. And without much ado, let me also tell you today the way we are, we cannot afford to pursue further business growth without enhancing sustainability as an essential part of our corporate agenda. And as you would have heard out, even the pandemic like the Corona COVID-19, it has itself thrown so much spotlight on the interdependence between business, nature, and society. If we do not think that encroachment on natural ecosystem, on protecting public health were relevant to our business, we almost certainly see the links now. Earlier, we may be thinking it is a buzzword, but now it is it is really a reality happening around us in many forms. And it is time that we collectively must chart a path forward together, and one which is regenerates Earth natural system, rebuild our social fabric, ensure economic growth for our business, and so doing increasing our collective resilience to future shocks. So that's where the effort of having this webinar, and you will see much more from Sapna ji. And sustainable development goals that he referred to is a powerful framework provided by the United Nations for businesses to engage in corporate social responsibility. And as you know, in 2015, 193 countries at that point of time all over the world agreed to Paris Climate Accord, and one of the highlight of that Paris Climate Accord was implementing 17 Sustainable Development Goals to make this planet not only happier and joyful but also sustainable. The Agenda 2030 is to achieve the SDG by focusing on people, profit, and planet all together and leave no one behind. That is the mantra and that is the key imperative for all of us. How can we ensure equitable opportunities for each and everyone? CSR and SDG together have tremendous potential to develop an interconnected model for business sustainability in India. And I'm sure most people present today are aware of UN Global Compact. But for those of you who must have signed up for the first time, who have registered today only, the Global Compact Network India is the local arm of United Nations Global Compact New York. It is the only UN agency in India that works for custodian of all the 17 SDG, and we are a membership-driven work that works in the areas of advocacy, research, capacity building, and programmatic intervention projects around sustainable development goals and 10 global UN principles. We work with all the stakeholders right from within the UN system itself to union government, state government, corporate sector, civil society organization, and the academia as well. So this is where our impact comes with all the stakeholders. And now I would like to specifically come to you why it is important to understand CSR and sustainability in one bucket, because COVID-19 has further reinforced, and in fact, the disruption that has happened in living and working in the last few months has really further enforced the SDGs and 10 universal sustainable principles are the only way to respond, restore, rebuild, or resume both our personal and professional lives. So it is time for all stakeholders, including all of us present in the webinar, whether it is businesses, government, NGO, and academic institution, to set measurable and ambition and business relevant SDG commitments and also report on them in a credible and compelling way. UNGCNI, along with IMT CDL, firmly believes this is to be a unique opportunity to bring together representation from the academics and industry to have an interactive session on how CSR initiative can be aligned with the SDG in the decade of action, and what can be our efforts to overcome the challenges we face for achieving SDG by 2030. I'm sure I don't have to give you a lecture because we have invited Dr. Sapna Narula. She will share with you the discussion between Shri Bhai and Dr. Sapna will be both engaging and enlightening. And I wish you all the best. And with this, I hand over to Zameer Bhai and moderator for today's session. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share my views. Thank you.
Thank you, Kamal Singh ji. Thank you. It was beautifully worded opening remarks from you, and you connected the link between CSR and SDG in such good words, and also threw light on the role of UNGCNI into this for this purpose. And now it is time for me to welcome Dr. Sapna Narula, who is our key speaker for the day. She is a well-known academician and researcher practitioner in sustainability, apart from being a good personal friend. And she has made immense contribution to this field of sustainability in business landscape through her teaching, research, and consultancy. And she has also played a key role in advancing education for sustainability in India through a number of initiatives targeted at raising awareness, generation, and capacity building among corporates, youth managers, and policymakers. She's right now the professor and dean at School of Business Studies, Nalanda University. Her previous assignment was as HOD at Terry School of Advanced Studies, where she was heading Department of Business and Sustainability, alongside being engaged in teaching and research related to this field. Her work in the area of use of ICT, which is information and communication technologies for sustainable development, has won many accolades, including Prosper.net, Scopus Young Scientist Award for Sustainable Development 2011, delivered jointly by German Ministry, United Nations University, Alzheimer, and a Young Scientist Award 2009 from Uttarakhand Council for Science and Technology, Government of Uttarakhand. She has trained multitude of executives in government and private sector, over 1,000+ hours of training workshops and MDPs. She's a master trainer for business and ecosystem training from WBCSD, which is World Business Council for Sustainable Development from Geneva. So we all are waiting to hear from you, Dr. Sapna. And uh, how do you like to start the discussion? Should I straight away shoot my questions, or would you like to have a preamble before I start getting into the discussion mode?
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Kamal Singh and Dr. Professor Asif Zameer. It was really a generous introduction. Too many words you have spoken about me,
No, no, it's fine.
and thank you so much. And both of them have been wonderful colleagues for past 10 years. So it is always a delight to be in this panel. And as sustainability is one of my, it is my passion. So I'm delighted to be here. And over to you, Professor Zameer.
Okay, so I think let's get down to the business directly and without wasting time. So I'll start with some questions which I have framed over the last 2 days. What can I ask you, which is of general interest to everybody present in this seminar, and which slightly kindles the interest towards CSR and SDGs in their minds, and they start looking at this area with more keener interest. So my first question is. Could you trace the progress of mandatory CSR in Indian context, and how are Indian corporates implementing various activities listed under Schedule 7 of Companies Act?
Yeah, so Professor Zameer, ever since this CSR Act came into CSR rules came into existence in the Companies Act 2013, our companies have made a significant progress. In fact, you would be knowing that companies like Tatas and Birlas and many other corporates, they have been doing corporate social responsibility, but it was not as structured as it is now. So after 2013, we find a lot of structured approach in the CSR strategies of companies. We find that they have taken up projects which are related to the national goals, which are related to the global sustainable development goals. As an example, I would like to state that in 2019, the total expenditure, CSR expenditure by companies stands out to be 7,000 crores. So yeah, which is a good note. Companies are investing into a lot of different activities. Say for example, we are investing into agriculture, food and nutrition, health, urbanization. They are also investing into livelihoods. So these are the things that Indian companies are taking. Recently, the research by one of my PhD student, Shri. So we did a research of the top Bombay Stock Exchange companies, and we just try to find out how CSR within the companies is, how can we differentiate between different sectors. So how are the strategies of companies different from companies coming from different sectors. So we found that the research finds that CSR activities are particularly skewed. Say, for example, if we see the geographical skewness, we find that Maharashtra is where the companies are spending the most of their CSR funds. That is very much understandable because most of the companies' head offices are in Mumbai, and that's how that makes Maharashtra an attractive destination for CSR projects. It is not that companies are not spending in different areas. Oil and gas companies are spending a lot of their CSR into Assam and near their assets. Similarly, mining companies are doing work in Bihar and Jharkhand. Maharashtra becomes the topmost state, and then comes the Tamil Nadu. So there is an interesting finding of this research where we find that Northeast Northeast area still remains, staggering behind. So I think there is a need for companies to give more attention to northeastern states. Now, if we trace the activities of the companies towards sustainable development goals, it is very clear that most of our companies are spending money on SDG 4, that is education. So education becomes the top gainer because in India we know that government's focus is also on education and health. So that is how more companies are spending money on child education, women education, vocational education. Especially if you talk about mining companies and oil and gas companies, they are spending a lot of their CSR funds onto the SDG 4. Then a second SDG where Indian companies are investing is related to health. So after education, health is the next spender. But you see that there are a lot of SDGs which are really ignored by our corporates. Say, for example, climate action, sustainable consumption and production. India has a huge population, and we understand that education and awareness of citizens related to sustainable consumption also has to be our priority. And government has also listed government's efforts on single-use plastics, etc. This is where companies need to educate and make people aware. So they should have more citizenship campaigns. So, in Schedule 7, there are different activities listed, and Indian companies are in fact, spending on that. So we also find lot of companies investing into building clean toilets, which is very much relevant to Swachh Bharat campaign. And now new schemes have come up by Government of India, which is Atmanirbhar Bharat and other things. So I see there's a huge potential for companies to invest in livelihoods and skill development programs through Atmanirbhar Bharat. So this is something that we know that companies are doing, but still there is a lot of potential for companies to come forward. As far as India is concerned, it is the only country which has made CSR mandatory. So we see a lot of potential here.
Oh, great. Now, your questions have raised some more questions in my mind. So,
Yes.
You gave an interesting data that Maharashtra has the biggest contribution towards CSR because naturally most of the head offices of big companies are situated in Mumbai, and it is the financial capital of the world, of India. Sorry. Now, my question from this particular point is this: where do we record this amount of CSR? Is it the source which is giving, or is it the end usage where it is being consumed? For
Pardon?
example,
I could not hear your question. Your voice
okay,
is breaking. Yeah.
okay, repeat my question. Where do we record this usage of CSR fund? Is it at the source where it is being given, or is it at the end point where it is actually being consumed? Suppose I give an example. I have got a company, say Reliance, which is headquartered in Mumbai, and they give 1,000 crore to PM Relief Fund, and that relief fund is used in a flood situation in Northeast. Now, where will this be counted? Will this be counted in Maharashtra or Northeast?
Yes, yes. So we have taken this data from the company's reports, which have been submitted to the CSR portal, where they talk about different types of expenditure, and they have also linked their expenditure to a variety of projects. When we were doing this project, there was a huge challenge because, you see, why do we know this challenging data? There was a challenge that there were a lot of projects which were repetitive. So say for example, if something was listed in skill development also, it was also listed in education. So this was the challenge we faced while we were assessing this data. But the reason is very simple, because companies are also not spending in a structured manner, and this is the point I'm going to raise, that all the companies, as and when a CSR project comes, they just take action, but it has to be more planned. So our companies, although they are front runners in implementing this act, but they have to be more planned. Every company needs to have a CSR strategy. We see that many companies, they are, when they are reporting these activities in their BRR reports or CSR reports or sustainability reports, so there is no uniformity. So we cannot compare company wise. So that's why I say that there is a lot which is yet to be achieved. So spending the money in a structured manner. Say for example, we have this huge goal of aligning CSR with the SDGs. So companies need to integrate these practices. They have to define their CSR strategy. So it is, so that it is coming from their vision, and their vision should be related to both national as well as global goals. National means, our national priorities, the different schemes, and global means the SDGs. So right now, companies are spending money on CSR projects, but they are not aware to which SDG they are contributing to. It is that the team of researchers, and I think KPMG has also done some work, and they have tried to notice that, how these activities are related to SDG. But it is not coming on the company's front. When companies spending money, they are spending money only on CSR projects. So I think there is a great need for companies to look into the SDGs and give an SDG thinking to the entire CSR strategy. So they should know that these are our goals. And this could be an excellent example where internal company goals could be contributing towards the global sustainability goals. So number one, the planning, the materiality assessment, the stakeholder engagement, whatever they do, they have to give SDG more thinking into their mission, vision, as well as the business strategies. Second is, I think that right now companies are doing a lot of efforts, but there is no instrument available to measure companies' performance. We can measure their financial performance when we go to BSc or NSC, but there is no instrument available which can rank companies on the basis of their corporate social responsibility. So we do not have a clear-cut index for responsible businesses. So I think what we need right now is a CSR index, and this is something that we are demanding from the government also. So this will be easier for the stakeholders, say for example investors, customers, and employees to see how their company is ranking on the social performance index. Then whatever that these companies are doing, they are not, impact assessment is an area where we need to do a lot of efforts. So we are spending money here and there, but we don't track its progress. So I think clear-cut measurable goals and how to measure, the impact in terms of numbers. Okay, if you have built some toilets, how many people are actually using that toilet? Or simply a structure was raised, right? So the actual usability of those toilets, and say for example, if you have done some skill development trainings, entrepreneurship training programs, so how many people are actually coming out of that? They are raising their own enterprises, and how many people have adopted these skill development programs as their livelihoods. So companies need to be very clear about this impact assessment. This is something that I feel that's still lacking. And one more area is, goal number 17, our goal on partnerships. So we have to see that how companies engage at the local level. Local level means the Gram Panchayat, district administration officials. I have seen in many of the CSR projects that we have implemented, there was a, somehow the results could not be achieved due to lack of companies' communication with the local authorities. So if we connect, because, that's what they say, that companies say that it's not our business. So normally what companies do, they actually hire an NGO, a local NGO, and they will manage. But that does not solve the entire purpose, because that NGO may be looking at different priorities, whereas the company's CSR strategy is different. So I think company has to remain at the backdrop, and they have to engage with the stakeholders if they want this to be translated into their reputational gains. So these are some of the issues that I would like to raise. Also, government schemes. So we have to integrate our CSR strategy with various government schemes. So we have a lot of schemes in agriculture, food and nutrition, National Solar Mission is there, National Action Plan on Climate Change. And yes, climate change is where Indian companies are, they have to do more efforts. Climate change, ecosystems. So while we analyze the sustainability reports of the companies, social responsibility reports of the companies, we find that, this area is altogether missing. Ecosystem degradation. So what they talk about is carbon emissions, water, and waste. So, but there are a few gap areas where companies need to look more. So if we talk about ecosystem management, they have to go beyond tree plantations. They have to go beyond tree plantations and look for various schemes which link the natural ecosystems and community. Say, for example, ecosystem valuation. So how do they, actually evaluate the natural resources? Yeah.
Good, very good. I mean, okay. Now I like to ask you a very topical question. We are all going through this pandemic times of COVID. So what have private companies been able to do and use the CSR activities during this pandemic times, specific to pandemic problems? Have they
Yeah.
done something, and
Yeah.
how? Yeah.
So it's very heartening to note that even during COVID times, companies have come forward with their help. In fact, government at the right time introduced little amendments in the CSR Act, and they made COVID-19 investments as part of the CSR expenditures. So that is how companies were quite spending money in this direction, and we have seen that different companies and foundations coming forward to the help of the doctors, providing facilities, COVID test kits, and etc. So I think if not Indian corporates, then who? So we are many of our companies are listed on the Fortune 500 list, and when India needs their help, they have to come forward. And fortunately, they have come forward to the nation's help at the right time. Of course, again, I would like to highlight that the way the pandemic came was not as structured, but this is something that we needed, and it was timely, fulfilled.
Good. In the same light, I'd like to request you if you can cite one or two best practices from one public sector and one private sector in the sustainability domain in this country. Because people are interested to see real life examples of whatever we are trying to profess.
Yeah, so there are many companies who are doing exemplary practices in sustainability. But ever since I have been in this field, I can give initiative of a few companies. I will not mention one company, but the entire sector. In fact, you would have seen that whenever new innovations came, it was the private sector in India who were front runners. Say, for example, whether it was IT or any other new technology, in automation or something like that. But in sustainability, our public sector companies have been front runners. They have taken these initiatives at the right time, and ONGC, Bharat Petroleum, Hindustan Petroleum, there were reasons, there were compulsions for them to go forward in this direction. Of course, it came from investors, from customers, and also they belong to one of the polluting industry. So that was the need. But at one point of time, when they were growing, we found that if they wanted to attract more investments, if they wanted to be competitive in the business, and it is very heartening to see the initiative these companies have taken. One of the oil and gas company has a carbon management department. They have a sustainability. They set up a sustainability department in 2010, and later in 2015 they have a separate carbon management department. So around 40 people are working for the sustainability stream in that company. So that is where a lot of demand for sustainability professionals also come, because companies now want to do more activities in sustainability. And these oil and gas companies, they are doing a lot of work related to water management and ecosystem valuation, ecosystem management. So, they have gone beyond, that tree plantation thing, and they are working even solar technologies, and a lot of work is going on renewable energy projects. So this is something that one sector is front runner in a public sector. In private sector also, if you talk about Mahindra and Mahindra and other automotive giants, all sectors are working. They are trying to do materiality assessment of their issues, and they have identified issues. So that's how they are moving forward. Textile is doing a lot of work on water management. Mining companies are doing a lot of work on skill development, air pollution control, and various new technologies, renewable energy. Even companies are now trying to engage with the supply chain partners, because if you talk about scope, we have to indirect suppliers. So automotive giants like Maruti and other areas, other companies, they are joining hands with their supply chain partners to see that they also learn and they contribute towards sustainable development. Because these small ancillary suppliers are very small. They do not have competency to adopt any sustainable efforts. They do not have money to have new technologies, and neither they have money nor they are aware of the issues. So companies are doing efforts to engage with these supply chain partners. So these are some of the best practices from India's side, and we look forward to more contributions from these companies.
Great. And now something which is probably more of primary interest to our participants who have joined. What are the future opportunities for careers for youth, industry professionals, academicians, researchers in this emerging area, which is of national and global importance?
Yes, Professor Zameer, as I have just highlighted that, there was a company in 2009, they had a few employees in sustainability department. But now if you talk about, they would have, 50 to 60 employees in the sustainability department. So avenues are opening up in each and every company and sector in India as well as abroad. So companies have realized the importance of practicing and integrating sustainability into their business practices. CSR is mandatory, but sustainability reporting is voluntary. And companies are now reporting on the GRI framework. They are also reporting on the integrated reporting framework. So this is where the demand for most of the sustainability professionals come, and they require people for these green jobs. I understand that there are not many trained individuals in the country who can do this job. And whenever these company people talk to me, they always raise issues of a gap in the human resource. So this is how companies are wanting human resource professionals who are trained in sustainability. And this is how different educational institutions like my institution, Nalanda University, and I think IMT also is doing something. So we have started MBA in Sustainable Development and Management, and this is how we are moving forward. And there is a great demand for short-term programs. Say for example a 5-day program, because working executives cannot come for a full program. So a lot of demand is also coming in short-term programs and certificate programs, full degrees, part-time MBA degrees, 1-year programs. So I see a lot of good future for sustainability professionals, and this is the gap that we all need to fulfill. As an educational institution, it is our responsibility to create a force which can serve our companies and which can make this planet sustainable.
Rightly said, and going by whatever you have been telling us beautifully in the last half an hour, I could already see so many gaps, though I am not anybody who is proficient in this area. But even from listening as a layman on what you were saying, I could visualize the need for trained professionals and the other gap areas that you have been listing out. Uh, I can understand that a company has 500 crores to be put in CSR, and it cannot be simply given away to an NGO or plant trees somewhere or distribute sweets to old age people, old age home inmates. It doesn't work like that, and there has to be a very strong CSR and a follow-up CSR strategy, as you said. So you require people who understand SDGs, who understand CSR, and who understand the complete roadmap from allocation to fund to impact assessment, as you said, because the impact assessment is very, very important. impact on the society, on that targeted sector, and also onto the company. See, as a marketing person, I could very clearly see there is a lot of marketing angle which is involved in CSR, and probably that is the reason where you were actually pained by two things, that most of the CSR funds which are being devoted in this country are on only two SDGs, which is education and health. From a marketing perspective, I can see the logic behind companies going into these two areas. These two
Yeah.
areas are like low-hanging fruits. I mean, these are ripe. You put money there and you immediately see a change which is visible, quantifiable, and creates a lot of goodwill among general customers. If you go into something slightly more abstract like climate change, and you start putting money there, the impact will not be so easy directly visible to
Exactly.
the customer at least in the short run, and it will
Exactly.
seem, या इट विल सीम कि ये कुछ हवा में बात है, और ये हो सकता है 10 साल में कुछ फर्क हो. इट्स लाइक द नमामि गंगा प्रोजेक्ट जो आज भी आया है, आप द रिपोर्ट हैज कम. So I can understand that companies are trying to look at these immediate result areas and linking it to their own goodwill somehow to build up and have this CSR contributing to their brand image. So they are looking at only these two or three, health or education or poverty reduction or probably food safety as the key investment areas. But all 17 SDGs are important. Some of them are important for near terms. Some of them are important for future terms. So we have to really have a roadmap, as you said clearly, of sustained investments in all these areas, mapping them with goals, mapping their progress, doing impact assessment, having a CSR index, as you said. It's a great idea. I never thought about that, but if some research organization or government of India can collaborate and create a CSR index, and then you rank companies onto that and say this is the company, even, and it is nothing to do with amount of money. Amount of money will be definitely one factor of that
Right.
index, but it will be a lot of other things, sector, geography, and then impact, obviously, and how much it has created a ripple effect into the society. So, and then you also talked about government schemes where this CSR funds can be deployed. If government also is more creative in using that right now, if the company does not have any idea, they will simply park the money in PM relief fund, nothing more than that, and their mandatory task is over. So very nicely put up, and you said that there are a lot of opportunities for short-term programs, and because this is a platform, I'd like to tell that IMT CDL and UNGCNI has already announced and launched a short-term certificate program, online certificate program, for 36 hours spread over 9 weeks. So two hours on Saturday, 2 hours on Sunday, so that people absorb the thought, and they are not put into undue stress of going through long hours of classes. And we are going to have a lot of more in-depth knowledge on all of these aspects, which you touched upon beautifully in your discourse on CSRs, SDGs, connecting them, and then putting the right kind of strategy and looking at impact assessment. These are actually the contents on which we are going to talk about in that particular short-term program. So I request people who are joining today's virtual session, if they can look at that program also and sign up there. And I'm sure you are going to get a lot of value into that program. And there will be a joint certificate from UN Global Compact Network and IMT, which itself will carry weight in the market, because as Shri Kamal Singh pointed out, GCNI is actually the nodal body for implementing and monitoring SDGs for United Nations in this country. So we are hoping to do a good job in that particular course, which is going to start from 26th of September as of now. And so I really thank you for such beautiful uh, and short way in which you uh, uh, delivered your keynote address on CSR and SDGs and made us aware about the challenges and the opportunities and the gaps into this growing field and the importance of this. And I also thank Shri Kamal Singh ji for taking his time out, sitting with us throughout this session, and giving his background support. And all the people who have joined today, I'm sure you have taken so much thought, food for thought today. My colleagues from IMT CDL, colleagues from UNGCNI, GCNI, especially Shreya Madam, Asim Saab, and my IT team who have been at the background in the and supporting this event. Uh, Thank you so much. And if you have any parting words, Sapna ji, will be most happy to listen from you. And also one parting word from Kamal Singh ji before we sign off. So Sapna ji, please, if you can have some parting thoughts for us.
Okay, you want me to speak? Yeah.
But
Okay.
just some
Okay.
final thoughts, final points, if you have.
Uh,
Yeah.
Fine. So I think my parting thought will be like, this planet, COVID-19 has taught us great lessons. And we have now learned that we need to be sustainable. Uh, Whether it is a company or an organization or anybody else, we need to be sustainable, not only financially sustainable. People have money in Delhi, but still their air is polluted. You cannot buy clean air, right? And Chennai water crisis. Uh, these things have taught us Australian wildfires. So these things have taught us the importance of sustainability, that we do not need to worry about ourselves, but we also need to worry about the planet. Whether it is a company or an organization, we need to also take care of the resources that we have at our disposal. We do not have to spend these resources so unjudiciously that nothing is left for our future generations. So sustainable development and sustainable development goals demand that we use these resources judiciously, so that things are also available to our future generations. And if you ask me, I particularly like goal number 12, sustainable consumption and production.
Okay.
So it all starts from consumers. Consumers are us. So as citizens, we need to be responsible. Okay, government is implementing a policy for plastics management to eradicate single-use plastics, right? But what we are doing as a citizen, if as consumers, as citizens, we reject products and services which are unsustainable, days are not too far when the entire planet will be sustainable. So once we stop using these products, companies will also learn their lesson. So customers are the ones who can actually teach companies a lesson about sustainability. So the responsibility starts on us. And at the end, I would like to say, like Mahatma Gandhi said, that there is enough for the needs of the people, but not for the greed on this planet. So I think we should remember those words and try to be sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Kamal Singh ji, anything, any parting
I
thoughts?
think,
Yeah.
yes, I think Dr. Sapna has very well elaborated the last part of our conversation. Be sustainable. Sustainability start from home to offices to organization, society, and planet as a whole. So it is not me alone job. It is everybody job, and we are rightly poised to make a difference with institutions like or even IMT. They are so well poised to build capacities. It is here that if you run such program where we educate, we make people aware what CSR and sustainability is all about. I think more and more people will understand it, and I also see going forward there is going to be a huge requirement of CSR and sustainability professionals. and company will prefer those individuals or professionals who will have appreciation for CSR and sustainability. And even you will see going forward more and more programs being conducted on CSR and sustainability, whether it is capacity building program, whether it is certification program, whether it is online virtual programs, they will be more sought after. And people who will have this appreciation, people who will have this certification will have more competitive edge going forward. So that is why we felt that why don't we collaborate with institutions like IMT CDL or Nalanda University or many other similar university to fill up that vacuum that is going to happen. And how do we really make our contribution towards such a organization toward this space? And there is no dearth of people, only the dearth of good training program, good certification program, and good credible institutions. So that is the basic need here we have got, and I'm sure with everybody's support here, we will be able to deliver a very good program going forward. And we are also able to bring the complete know-how of the Global Compact Academy in New York, and that know-how and those sessions who are delivered by world leaders, the world practitioners. We have many in India, like Sapna ji, but we have globally we can access a lot of good practices, good literature, good research, good knowledge leadership. All that we will have an added advantage. So we should definitely make our people more aware, more stronger, and more implementer and more inspirers. Only then we will be able to make this planet more happier and sustainable. So that is my parting remarks. And thank you very much for really thinking of this session. And session like this only enables people to appreciate that what kind of a future that we are going to have and what kind of a scenario that we are going to have. If we can prepare ourselves for such scenario, I am sure we will succeed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kamal Singh ji. Thank you, sir.
No,
Thank you, Dr. Sapna. And
thank
I'm
you.
sure that with the kind of collaboration we have created and the program structure, this will be a definite step in filling the vacuum which Kamal Singh ji was pointing out. So thank you, and thank you to all the participants again, and have a good day, and we will meet sometimes again in such sessions. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank
All right,
you.
take care. Take care.